can't feel my face. Coffee spilling all over the place. Forgot the sticks, we're turning around. Another weekend in some hockey town. With a pucked up parents, frozen toes, big hearts, bad luck. With a pucked up parents, one more tourney, one more puck. We're broke, we're loud, we love this grind. Cause our kid just scored and we lost our minds.
Greetings and welcome to Puck Up Parents. We are at episode 19, which coincidentally, Angela and I were both born in the 1900s. Angela, how you doing?
Great. Now that you're making me feel old yet again. Welcome, everyone, to Pucked Up Parents. We are novice first generation hockey parents in a non traditional hockey town. But we've been hockey parents for the last 12 years and started this podcast to try to talk to everyone out there about what we've learned over that time. We feel like we've got a little bit of information to pass along and can at least start some conversations on some things that you might see and hear in your youth hockey journey.
That's right. We are non-traditional parents in a non-traditional town, that town being in northern Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati. Angela is a former athlete. I myself can't shoot a basketball. I can barely throw a spiral. So just give us a listen as we kind of navigate the world of youth hockey, which to us has been a fun but difficult path with lots of learning along the way. So with that said, Angela, we talked last episode about how the seasons are winding down, so we don't have what happened last weekend in hockey, but we do still have hockey in our lives every single week. So we'll do a how did hockey impact us this week? And I think you have the best story because your wallet is a little bit lighter.
Yeah, my wallet's a lot lighter. The oldest needed new skates. His skates were essentially trashed after wearing them for about 2 seasons. I was lucky enough to find the exact same model, size, everything on Sideline Swap and got them for about half the normal price, but I'm still about $500 lighter in my wallet.
Now, what size are those? Because he's got some big old feet.
Well, so they're size 11 skates, but you have to remember that hockey skates, there's like a size conversion. And so whatever your shoe size is, you subtract about 1.5 or 2 sizes. He wears a 12.5 or 13 shoe. So his hockey skate is a size 11.
Yeah, I saw him in the garage. I mean, those things are massive. The blades look like I can hack through a jungle with them, like a machete, because they're so large.
Here's a fun fact. Brand new hockey skates, because these are brand new hockey skates, the blades don't come sharpened. So don't get a new pair of hockey skates, strap them onto your kids' feet and send them out on the ice because they will not skate well because the
They're,
blades are not sharp.
they're butter knives at this point.
Yes, exactly.
All right, that's Angela's early tip of the day is to if you buy brand new skates, get those things sharpened before you step out foot on the ice. I would have never known that. Along with that, we finally, after desperately pleading with our local media here in the Cincinnati area, they did do a story on our boys and how far they won the state, how far they made it in the national tournament. So shout out to our local affiliate of WCPO, a weather woman who also has a kid in a hockey organization here locally, did a story on us. And today we're recording this because we're recording it early because we're on spring break next week. We're headed down south to Florida. So I say no hockey in our lives down there, but I think we may go to an NHL game. Stay tuned for that. With that said, Angela, let's talk about last episode. What did we talk about?
We talked about feeding your player, when to feed your player, what to feed your player, just based on our novice experience of just trying not to have a hangry kid and not having them crash out on the ice.
And also to eat healthy. Don't have a sleeve of Oreos before you go on the ice, and maybe don't load them up with beef and cheddars from Arby's. So yeah, we talked food. Now, what are we getting into today?
We're going to talk a little bit about how to hockey without ice. We're coming up on the spring and summer sessions. We did a prior episode on summer hockey, summer camps, spring sessions, all of those things. But today we want to talk a little bit more about roller hockey or street hockey, inline skates, all of that kind of stuff. Because here in this climate, it's not great for the rinks in the summertime. Our kids spend a lot of time on those inline skates or rollerblades, whatever you want to call them.
Essentially, in the summertime here, it's like leaving your refrigerator open inside the house. It's just all that air is leaking out to the hotter air. So, right, my rink is shut down. It's summertime. It's springtime. You want your kid to keep his skills sharp. Angela, what the puck am I doing to keep them going in the summer.
Well, again, I just mentioned the rollerblades or inline skates. I've seen them called different things, and we have over the years had just the cheapy rollerblades from the big box stores, and we've had the nicer inline skates that we bought at hockey stores or gotten from Sideline Swap or whatever.
But it's safe to say that, and I wasn't aware of this until I became a hockey parent, rollerblades to me were like the bulky rollerblades with the ratchet straps and everything else. I didn't realize until our oldest started rollerblading that there's actually hockey skate. They look like hockey skates, but they have rollerblades on the bottom. I didn't know that. They look like a way more comfortable, less hefty pair of skates than those traditional big rollerblades I'm used to.
What you're thinking about is like the fitness craze of the 90s where everybody was wearing rollerblades skating on the beach, on the boardwalk or
I have
whatever.
a couple
That's what you're thinking of?
I have a couple stories about that. So real quick, so yes, there was a rollerblade craze back in the 1900s, we'll say the 90s, just to make us not feel as old. My Uncle Robert, Angela, you know Uncle Robert.
Oh,
He
yeah.
he thought he'd buy me a nice pair of rollerblades, so he bought the rollerblades and had the knee guards and everything, and he went rollerblading in our little town and came home with a snapped wrist.
Oh, he
But
should have gotten the wrist guards.
But I looked up to him so much that I went out and got my own rollerblades. So I bought these big rollerblades, and then I'm like, "I'm gonna play street hockey." Don't ask me where that came from. I was like, "I'm gonna play street hockey." So I had like the balls and the sticks, the wooden sticks, and it lasted maybe 10 or 15 days. Maybe I fell a few times. Again, I'm not athletic, but those original street hockey sticks our kids use, which we still have to this day, are from my childhood.
That's funny, and, you know, I think those big box stores, so the throwback to the 90s era's rollerblades, I think that's what our oldest started using in the driveway. I think we just picked him up at Play It Again Sports or something, and he started using those in the driveway and would absolutely destroy them because they're not made to play hockey, they're not made as sturdy as the ones that are specific for street hockey.
I gotta think that those are not made for the quick transitions. In other words, the start, the stop, the stick, hitting it sideways. You're basically skating for distance in those other ones. Now, granted, there were X Games, and I'm sure those are specialized skates as well. And I also remember from the 90s, remember Rollerblade Barbie? I think my youngest sister had a Rollerblade Barbie, and you would scoot it along the hardwood floor, and it would shoot sparks out the back of the
Oh
roller.
god, no, I don't know that. I guess that was beyond my Barbie days.
It was essentially a lighter with no butane in it.
Jeez.
So
Well,
anyway,
I will the
back
one thing I do wanna point out about the rollerblades from the big box stores or the kind of the throwback rollerblades is they have a brake on usually on one of the skates on the back. You'll have the wheels, and then you have this, like, rubber stopper thing on the back of one of that set of wheels, which is not great for playing hockey, but if you just want your kid to skate or they're just looking to skate and that's what you have. I know one of our fellow hockey parents, when their child first started playing hockey in the summertime, they got them a pair of rollerblades and they just rollerbladed while, walking the dog just to get those skating muscles going and kind of, feeling it out. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but just something to note.
walking the dog, are they leashing up the dog and yelling "mush"? I'm picturing
No, just, picture a 7-year-old with going out to walk the dog with a family. Mom or dad has the dog and the kid's just skating.
oh, I'd get like a big German Shepherd or a Great Dane or something to have him tow me around the town.
Of course you would. Again, let's talk about your athleticism
Oh,
and
that's true.
and how that translates
Yep,
to
I
you skating.
I'd look like the brother in, Napoleon Dynamite. Remember he would put on the rollerblades and Napoleon would tow him around on the 10 speed?
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what you would be doing. So, anyways, I think the idea is if your kids are really into skating and it's summertime, grab a pair of rollerblades and see if they take to it. I know our kids love to just skate around and it maintains those skating muscles, builds their confidence, and they can skate with or without a stick. It really is just something to do and continuing that skill of skating. And it's really surprising how the kids adapt from ice to wheels, essentially.
As I look back on my rollerblading days, I always remember the road. I mean, clearly I didn't ice skate as a kid, but the road was always rough. I mean, there's breaks in the sidewalk. The driveway is beat the hell, or so it does build that skating muscle. It builds the confidence in the kids because let's be honest, the pavement is less forgiving than the ice is. It's rough. There's pebbles everywhere. I mean, we've doctored some wounds from our kids playing roller hockey. And another thing, I know you said that buying them used at like Play It Against Sports. I learned this, you can replace the wheels. Again,
Yes.
not being a rollerblade dad, I remember ordering some new wheels because, man, Sam had them down to like a nub, especially during COVID when this was huge because the ice rinks had shut down, but I remember replacing the blades.
Yeah,
Also,
and I think to that point, I think the rollerblades that are made for street hockey, you can definitely replace those wheels, but those big box store rollerblades, I'm not sure you can replace the wheels on those. So you'll have to look at what kind of rollerblades you have.
another way this was beneficial, I remember Sam was, very proficient at rollerblading, and he had a birthday party for his, little classmate, and it was at the local roller skating rink. I remember all the other kids struggling on these roller skates, and Sam's out there zipping and weaving and bobbing, and parents were like, "How does he know how to rollerblade so easily?" And we're like, "Well, he's in hockey, and he loves to rollerblades." He was really showing off at that age, if you remember that birthday party at the,
Yeah, they were like 6 or 7, I think, at that point.
I
So yeah.
real quick, I'll dive back into the '80s. What was your roller skate? Everybody had a roller skating rink they went to as a kid.
Oh,
What
Champs Roller Dome. It still exists.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, well, it was kind of a local franchise at the time, and one of them still exists, and it's actually very close to the ice rink in Louisville. The one that I went to was a little closer to where I lived, but it was still owned by the same family, and it's still there.
Were you cool in that you had your own skates, or did you have to go get the rentals?
Oh, yeah, no, I had my own skates. That was a big deal back in the '80s. Of course, they were the roller skates with the 4, like,
Oh, yeah, they also
offset wheels, not rollerblades, but still.
and they I grew up in Nelson County, Kentucky. We had Whispering Wheels. That was the name of it. Well, family owned it. It's no longer in operation, and I had my own skates, and they were He-Man skates. So He-Man was
Of course they were.
black and red with, He-Man on the side, and man, me with my mullet and glasses and He-Man skates, what girl could resist me?
Yeah, something like that. Well, anyways, back to hockey. One of the other big things that we have, at least in our driveway, and I think a lot of hockey families do, is the driveway net. We have a hockey net in the driveway. We've had several iterations of it because I think we started out with a cheapy one that got broken down pretty quickly, and we've since moved on to a much nicer outdoor net. But the kids will shoot balls, those little the little plastic biscuits. They will shoot real pucks from their quote unquote synthetic ice. Essentially, they're like little tiles that we can put out in the driveway that function a little bit more like ice that they can shoot real pucks off of.
That hockey net you stick in your driveway, and we have a fairly large driveway, it takes a beating. It takes a beating from the kids. I can't honestly not say that I've ever backed into it a few times. And I pity whatever's behind that net because the kids' aims aren't that well. And we've talked about this. Our garage is dented with pock marks all over the place. I fear for the neighbor's house. I fear for the cars driving by when it's pointed in that direction. And also, when we mow the grass, there's pucks laying in the yard, there's balls laying in the yard. You have to have your heads up when you mow to make sure you don't chop up. I mean, they will mess up a blade on a mower or something fierce.
They will, for sure. But one of the things that our younger son's team has done over the last couple of years during the summer is they do a 10,000 shot challenge over the summer. They essentially challenge the kids to take 10,000 practice shots over the summer or during the off season. And so that's always been fun and interesting. And watching our youngest figure out how to get 10,000 shots has been interesting.
On February 3rd of my 21st birthday, I took a 21 shot challenge.
Oh, geez.
18, it was a tequila and Tabasco that finished me off. It's called a flaming tumbleweed, but yes, I would see Henry come in and he'd have a little calculator out trying to figure out how many of his 10,000 shots did he complete, and then the kids would report back on the team snap.
So it's funny, he liked doing the 10,000 shots, but he didn't like retrieving the pucks out of the net. So he came up with a little system where he put a tarp on the driveway in front of the net. So every shot that he took, the pucks would land on the tarp, and then he would just drag the tarp back over to where he was shooting from, dump the pucks, and replace the tarp.
Your kids can use, again, Angela said use pucks, they can use the balls. I know we've had, like, rubber pucks that are super light, that are hollow, pucks with, like, ball bearings, so they roll around a little bit. All variations. Our kids seem to switch back and forth between the different styles of driveway roller hockey pucks.
Yeah, for sure. It really depends. I think usually when they're on the rollerblades, they're using a ball most of the time. But, like I said, some of the just shooting for that 10,000 puck challenge, they're typically in their sneakers and just shooting a real puck. But I just thought that was something else to throw in there as a way to stay active in the sport of hockey over the summer or in the off season.
Back to the rollerblading craze of the mid to early '90s. Did you ever see the movie Airborne?
I never saw that. You mentioned that the other day. I don't remember that movie.
If you're listening, go rent, like you're going to Blockbuster. Go out on Amazon or whatever
Be kind, rewind.
and get Airborne. It's a cheesy early '90s movie about a surfer who moves from California to Cincinnati, coincidentally enough, and he has to adjust to the cold climate, and they do rollerblading. There's like a huge rollerblade race at the end of the movie. There's some hockey aspects of it all. There's some street hockey. It's one of Jack Black's earliest roles. He actually is in it as like a bully, and the final race was shot like a mile from our house at that stupid hilly road that goes to the airport.
Well, I do remember hearing something about that. I've never watched the movie, but I mean, maybe that's something we do this summer. We'll pull that off of Netflix or wherever it may be streaming these days.
Great cheesy movie. So let's talk about the roller and sticks primarily. Now, you don't want your kids using their hockey stick, or can you?
Well, so here's the thing. Our oldest started using his kind of old stick out in the driveway, and we quickly learned that it wears down the blade.
Well,
So
yeah,
that blade became
who would have known
a,
concrete
a
would
little.
sand your kid's blade down to inch width?
Yeah, so don't use your good stick on the concrete. They do make specific sticks for roller hockey with typically some sort of a plastic blade. Use an old stick, but be aware that it's going to get sanded down to just about nothing. We've also found this little like blade guard cover thing that can go over your stick to protect it from getting worn down by the concrete. I think that was something I ordered on Amazon, but it's been really helpful for the kids when they are out on the concrete. So just something else to think about if your kids are out playing in the driveway or in the street.
Now, what about inside? And we have one of these, and I've heard mixed reviews on it. What's your opinion on the SuperDeker? Now, for people who don't know what it is, you can look it up at the SuperDeker. It's like a flat piece of glass or plastic.
It's
It's
plastic.
plastic. It's probably what 4x5 or 4x6. It's like lot of the model's a rink, and a little flashing light will go from place to place. Think like Simon, it's just random intervals of the light, and you're supposed to put the puck on it, and it has sensors that knows that the puck is on the light, and it gives you a score point. We used to do this heavily during COVID because the kids would FaceTime each other and challenge each other, but I've heard negative reviews about it where it said it has your kids looking down, which you really shouldn't do in handling. What's your opinion on the, Super Deeker?
I don't know. Our kids both play defense, so the stick handling and the smooth hands are not as big of a deal for the defensive players as they are for the forwards. But I think it's a fun game, especially for the younger ones. But yeah, I think it may teach you to look down, but I think it's also training you to have quick hands and to have smooth hands and get more control with your hands. So as a training device, it's probably fine that if that's the only thing you're doing and you're not out on the ice or in the driveway looking where you're going as you're skating, then maybe that could be a problem. It's just like anything else. You gotta, use it in moderation and use it for what it's for and have fun with it. And that's really what our kids used it for, was just kind of more of a fun thing, more of a challenge thing to see how many points they could get in comparison to some of their teammates or friends.
We've also had, and again, this is not summer, but inside we have the VR.
Or headset, yeah.
We have like a generic game. There's like an NHL one that's it's so expensive and it has like a monthly charge. We didn't even purchase that, but they do some minor hockey stuff on that. But to Angela's point, you can't beat the physical stuff out in the driveway, and you can't beat the actually being on the ice.
Right, and again, in moderation, kind of do all of those things in combination. You're gonna be building those skills one way or the other, and try it out if it's something you like. I do remember the Super Deeker being maybe I don't remember how much we paid for it, maybe like $100, $200, something like that. So it's not exactly the cheapest thing, whereas I think if you get a pair of, used skates at Play It Again or used rollerblades at Play It Again and go with it, that's probably your cheapest option.
Let's move to our next segment. Are we there yet? Rinks and road trips. What do you have for it?
Well, like I said, we have done a previous episode on hockey in the summer, but I wanted to mention that there's also hockey in the summer that's not organized. We talked about organized hockey in the summer with camps and tournaments and whatnot, but there's a lot of rinks that close in the summer, but there's also some that stay open. And those that stay open typically have the stick time, they have the stick and puck, open ice, whatever. If you've got one of those rinks that stays open during the summer, hitting some of those every once in a while can be a fun thing, especially when it's really hot outside and you can go in the rink where it's nice and cool. Although the ice isn't all that great, the conditions can be kind of crappy.
Our rink, it hangs on as much as possible, and as the weather shifts, it's ours is not very insulated. It's a barn. We've mentioned that before. It's one that does close in the summer, but I know it gets kinda sad there at the end because there's puddles out on the ice. It gets foggy because the hot air, because 'cause we're not insulated well, it hits the ice, and it looks like there's a cumulus cloud sitting on the rink. You can't even see your kids out there. And then, snake actually fell from the ceiling. So you wanna tell the snake story about our rink?
Right. So this was, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years ago, maybe even longer at this point. There was a group of kids that were doing a sort of summer skills camp or something at the rink. And it was summertime. It was probably June, July. It was really hot outside. And they were out on the ice and, all the insulation up on the ceiling, there's some seams or cracks in that. And suddenly there was a snake on the ice. The snake had, I guess, come inside looking for who knows what, and it fell from the ceiling. Of course, with a bunch of boys, one of them skates over and picks it up and they carry it off and toss it kind of out the back door because there is a creek behind that rink. I'm sure it came in looking for some cooler weather.
Snake wanted to cool his belly, so he's laying up in the rafters, and he took a little dive down to, mid-ice.
Yeah, little dive to mid-ice. So yeah, that's a classic story from way back when, but still something I'm not sure we'll ever see again, but quite an entertaining day for the boys at the rink that day.
And the good thing about summer hockey is the numbers are down, so you get a little more private time on the ice, not as many kids. But on the other hand, you're out there, and even if you do scrimmage or there are other kids out there, the skill levels super vary. I mean, you're getting a double A and a house league kid who can barely skate. You take to us, it's a bonus. Anytime our kids can touch ice in the summer, that's just a bonus and just keeping their skills sharp.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing to say. Our kids have always had the desire to do that. We've never pushed them into, hey, you need to go to open ice or you need to do this camp or whatever. They've always been, hey, I want to be on the ice. Is there stick time this week? And I think that's something to talk about too. If your kid is not interested in being on the ice, it's okay to take a break too. And even with ours wanting to be on the ice, there have been times where we've said, no, it's time to take a break. We're going to step away from this and do something else, play another sport, go on vacation, do whatever. That's just something I want to mention too.
Our summers took a shift last year because, again, our son loves the roller hockey in the driveway with the introduction of a street hockey league for kids in our area. Shout out to the Covington Street Hockey League. They just got started last year. So our kid had never played, I don't want to say competitive, it was still pickup games with other kids, but he's never played against other people. And we took him down there to compete with these other kids. It was just pickup games, a little bit of drilling instructions because there were hockey coaches down there to drill the kids for 20 minutes or so, and then they would play a game. But the transition that our kid made, he was incredible. He played an incredible game down there, and they had like a year-end tournament, which his team he put a team together and they dominated. Having a local roller hockey rink to get out of that driveway is very beneficial, and it does keep that whole feeling of hockey alive even during the summer.
I do want to mention, so you mentioned our Covington Street Hockey League. It's a great league. They have a men's league that has been going on for quite some time, and they've got a great facility, and it is outdoor. But there are also inline hockey or roller hockey arenas that are inside. We've not experienced any of that just because we've not really branched out, but I do know that there are tournaments and leagues that have more of that indoor feel. Keep that in mind too. If you're looking for something, you can do outdoor, indoor. It's really going to vary by what's available in your area.
We used to have an indoor rink. They took it down for that 3rd sheet of ice that's been under construction for a couple years. Who's that guy? Nasher, who's big online. He's played there a few times because our kids were like starstruck when they saw him. The indoor skating rink. And we've been invited to play indoor skating leagues and indoor tournaments in the rollerblade tournaments in the summertime, which we turned down because I looked at them. They were really serious. I'm like, summers are just our kind of kick back and relax and not stress about hockey tournaments.
For sure, and I think that's what you wanna do. I think it's great. There are plenty of leagues and tournaments out there. You're just gonna have to search for them. And when I was doing a little searching around to see what was out there, I did find that the NHL sponsors a street hockey league for kids. It's in different areas. You'll have to get on their website. It was NHL Street is what it's called. It looks like there's one here in our local Cincinnati area that plays one of the parks downtown. So that might be something interesting to check out too. It looks like they have leagues in a lot of different cities, especially those cities that have the NHL teams.
Angela, life moves pretty fast. What are your reflections on this episode?
Well, we mentioned it earlier. Our oldest really started with the rollerblading and street hockey stuff during COVID. So, if everybody remembers, everything shut down during COVID. We weren't getting on the ice, all the rinks closed, all the schools closed, people were working at home. So, our son was on, I think at the time, those cheap big box store rollerblades and literally was playing street hockey in our driveway up and down the street. He was on rollerblades constantly during that time because hockey season had just ended and his brain was still in hockey mode. And that was probably the longest time he was ever not on the ice during those first few months of COVID and really just wore the heck out of those cheap inline skates during that time period.
For you parents that didn't experience it, COVID hockey was wild. Our kid loves being on the ice, and it was very difficult. Rinks shut down, and then even when they did start to open, it was I was sitting in the parking lot during practices if you weren't allowed inside. The kids had to get dressed outside. We were getting dressed out of the trunk of my car, and I'd almost have to carry him across the pavement to get him into the rink because he had his skates on, and the guards weren't good enough to block the pavement. COVID hockey was wild, but to Angela's point, he did take advantage and learned a lot about roller hockey during that time because it filled that need that he had to be on some type of blade.
Yeah, for sure, and I think all of our neighbors at that point were like, "Oh," because we had recently moved into this house when COVID, started, and I think all of our neighbors were like, "What's with this weird family with a kid on rollerblades all the time?"
So let's get to our tip of the week. We've covered a lot about summer hockey, rollerblading. Obviously, this is more of a rollerblading, roller hockey type themed episode. So, Angela, what's your tip of the week for my rinks are shut down? It's summertime.
You know,
Too.
I mentioned this earlier. Don't push your player too hard during the off season. Make it fun. Let them kind of lead the way. If they want to be on skates, great. If they don't, a break is good too. This is another thing we've talked about in previous episodes, and I think we're going to have to do a full-on episode about multiplayer sports. Play another sport. Have fun, relax, enjoy the warm weather.
Even if they don't play a sport, they're on a bike, that's building leg muscle. They're riding a
Right.
that's building one leg muscle.
Or hit the pool or the lake or the ocean, the beach, whatever. Do something outside and have fun with the summer.
Nothing more degrading than your kids are hockey. I mean, our kids are fully on hockey athletes, and you go to that pool or the lake for the first time, and they pull their shirt off, and they got like a six pack of abs. Meanwhile, I'm 47 over here trying to keep my stomach behind my belt.
They have a six-pack of abs, but they're also white as a ghost, pale as can be.
That's true. That's hockey players. They're pale.
Exactly.
So tip of the week is yeah, don't push them to skate. Just let them do other things in the summer if they want to. But if they want to skate, sure, and help them out with that.
Right, just know that there's options if they do wanna skate, but if they don't wanna skate, not a big deal. They're not gonna regress that much over a couple months break in the summer. That's why and again, we talked about it in our tryout episode. One of the reason tryouts is right at the end of the season is because they wanna get the kids, evaluated kind of when they're at their peak. So, not a big deal if they're not skating over the summer, but just know there are options if they do wanna skate.
Let's get to our outro here. It's been informative, and we need to start packing for spring break. I'm going to shout out our small business, and this is going to just be a local business, and I'm sorry for that. Our son just finished up playing with varsity, but I want to shout out the Northern Kentucky Ice Center. It's a barn. It did have a snake fall from the roof, but damn it, it is our ice. It is what got us started in hockey when Sam was 5 years old, 12 years ago. And to come full circle and win a state title and go to semifinalists, we couldn't be more grateful to have a ice rink in our house. And Angela, I think the stat is there's less than 1% of privately owned rinks in the country. And this is one of them. Is that correct?
I don't know the stat on that, but that sounds about right. It is a small business privately run by a family, and they've been at it for, I don't know, probably 20 years or so since before we moved to this area.
Look them up online, the Northern Kentucky Youth Hockey Association. It's out there. Again, we're a small community-based, family rink, and we couldn't be more grateful to the family that runs it, that's kept it up this long to let our kid play there. So give them a look. Angela, take us to our outro.
Appreciate everybody listening. Follow, subscribe, and share. Leave us a comment or question on whatever platform you're listening on. We're active on Facebook and Instagram.
We have merchandise. It's tagged to the top of our Instagram and Facebook page. Buy yourself a nice hoodie, buy yourself a t-shirt for the summer to let your kids play a little rollerblading. Like, listen, follow, and share. And please pass it on to other parents. And we're going to come into more summer kind of hockey topics as we take our little hockey break. So stay tuned for more episodes. And remember, keep your stick on the ice. We are all in this together. Goodbye.
Out before dawn, can't feel my face. Coffee spilling all over the place. Forgot the sticks, we're turning around. Another weekend and some hockey